Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a Star Wars Legion podcast bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
Hello and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Mike and Jay. Are you gentlemen excited for the Grand Master of the Jedi Order?
We have so much to talk about today. Oh my God. It's interesting because I think as Legion community, like content creators, we always feel like we get sort of screwed when something drops on a day we're not recording, right? Today was a good day.
Yeah. Yes.
So dropped on a Monday. We recorded on a Monday. So all the hot takes.
There will be many.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have like 3.
Then we will have at least 5
3
hot takes.
Yeah, great. Love it.
Yeah. So news about Yoda, including his command cards. His so average command cards dropped today.
You hear that, Empire players? They're so.
I've seen better.
I have seen better. That's one hot take that I'm going to make. But we will get to that in a little bit. First, we're also going to talk about a tournament that Mike went to over the weekend.
I mean, in fairness, you went as well. You just didn't play.
I did. I just did not play. I made a cameo. Yeah. It was a Vin Diesel style Tokyo Drift cameo, if you will.
All right.
Anyway, Jay, you got any housekeeping for us first?
Of course, always Kyle. Number one.
I just want to point out, everybody.
You're right.
Before we continue.
Not... Okay.
No. You don't get to explain it after the crap you just gave me like 10 minutes ago. So 10 minutes ago, he's like, Mike, why aren't we doing drops for all of our sections? And I'm like, well, Kyle, it's because you're not leaving enough time in between the sections. And so I guess we're doing housekeeping now. So Jay, why don't you go ahead?
Can I start over? Can I try again?
You could start over. Yes, go ahead.
No, keep this all in.
Oh, it's sticking.
Yeah.
But we can include the drop if you'd like to start over.
Yeah, let's go to Jay for some housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
It's a quick drop, Jay.
I just want to make sure. I don't want to get yelled at too. I'm all nervous now.
It's literally just housekeeping.
Yeah. Okay, so as usual, join us on Patreon, and you can hear cool behind the scenes podcast called The Fifth Trooper After Dark. Also, actually this week we're doing a live Q&A for our Patreon members. Come, if you're a Patreon member, you can come on to the Q&A and ask us anything.
So I'd like to caveat that with when you're hearing
you
this,
probably missed
the
it.
Q&A will be over.
So next month, we'll do another one, and you can join that one if you're a Patreon member at that time. So there's that. And then just the last thing is Stormtide is in full effect. We've been all over the Legion sphere plugging the crap out of Stormtide, and Mike and I are truly excited about it. And we're getting tons of people signing up. So if you want to get in on the Stormtide action, get in now. We've got even more great stuff coming up that we're going to be teasing and releasing. It's going to be amazing. So if you want to be part of Stormtide, that would be amazing. We just did an unboxing. You can check on our YouTube. Mike was on Stabcast and the Outriders and
many interviews.
Many interviews. I did 1 or 2. Mike wouldn't let me go on many. He wanted to do all the interviews because he knows I'll say crazy stuff.
That's exactly what happened.
Me and Krabick got talking about all kinds of nutter stuff. So I get it. It's fine. But check that out. And then as usual, just check out thefifthtrooper.com for all your mat and other thing needs.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be ramping up Stormtide here as we lead into kind of the release and stuff like that. So be on the lookout. Things are going to start happening, and it'll be pretty cool. So be on the lookout for maybe stuff that you can participate in prior to the release of Stormtide.
There's a little teaser.
Little teaser.
Nice.
Little teaser.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Way to
I'm
go.
allowed to do that, right? Like,
mean,
that's a thing I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me check with our lawyers.
Check with HR.
Yeah. Let me check with the boss. Yeah,
Yeah,
he says it's all right.
All right,
All right.
awesome. Well, we definitely got some news today, so let's hit that first.
Let's do it.
Welcome to In the News.
How was that? Good space for a drop?
Yeah, it was probably fine. And I'll make it fit if now that there's a space there. It's
I
great.
did a little dance.
You did
That
do a
helps.
little dance. Maybe that's like a thing, or is that gonna get us removed from YouTube too?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Well, we got Yoda today.
that's true.
All of the, well, not his upgrade cards, but we got his command cards, and we previously had received his unit card. So we now have his unit card and all his command cards.
Yeah, we do.
Let me ask you this. I think this is the most important question. I don't know, Kyle. I know you don't really play clones, but if you were going to, which Yoda model are you putting on the table?
Probably the one. This is a tough call. I like
In
them both
fairness,
for
I think
different
there's
reasons.
a third sculpt, technically.
There is, I think.
Oh, I'm only looking at the two. So I see the one where he's got his cane and he's like doing the Force thoughts, and then the other one where he's jumping off the rock and about to cut something in half.
I think one of them
There are three.
is
Oh.
like posable. I
Oh,
think.
Yeah.
nice. Okay.
I think
Yes.
the one with a cane, you can like he can like be doing maybe holding a lightsaber or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
there's one where he's not flying through the air. He is on his feet and he's holding a lightsaber.
Oh.
So,
All right. Well,
which I-
okay. Which iteration are you going to put on the table, Kyle?
I joked about buying a clone army over the weekend. I'm not gonna lie.
He literally
Um,
came into the store and he was like, "Yo, I was scoping out this order," and I was like, "Oh, so what you mean is you said you actually talked to the guy, right?" Or
No,
was that a
I did.
joke?
I did
That
not.
was a joke. That was
I
a
did
joke.
not talk to
Okay.
the guy. That was a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did check the price.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It was a full clone army. It was. This has nothing to do with Yoda, by the way, because this was on Saturday, for the record.
Sure.
But yeah, it was like all the phase ones from 2 core sets. It was 6 phase 2s, 3 arcs, all of the characters, a saber, all of it assembled but unpainted, which is like perfect for me because I would want to paint it myself.
Sure. And
but
not
I did
assembling because
not-
assembling's the worst.
I did not buy it because I love my family.
Yeah.
And I already have 3 armies. So, but yeah, if I were to play Yoda and model him, I would probably actually use the sculpt. I like the sculpt where he's the one that was not in the tweet, but is on the back of the box where he's got his hand up, but he's also like holding his lightsaber in the other hand.
Oh, okay.
So instead of his cane, but I
Nice.
like the cane one too. That feels very Yoda to me.
The
Yeah.
correct answer here is all of them, and depending on which command card you played that turn, you put that Yoda on the board.
There you go.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So the cane one would be luminous beings, right?
Uh-huh.
The lightsaber on the ground one would be there is no try, and then size matters not would be him flying through the air. I
Oh,
suppose.
totally. 100%. I think that's got to be intentional to some degree, I think.
If it is,
I know,
nice,
like
nice
the-
job.
Yeah, like the droidecas, right? Same.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Tangent.
No, you're totally. It's not
That-
tangent. We're talking about Yoda today,
We are.
and I'm excited, man. Like,
Are you?
I'm super excited
All right.
for a lot of reasons.
So do we want to, before we get to the cards, do we want to cover his unit card real quick, just to as a refresher, so people can
Yeah.
kind of circle back around on that?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. I
'Cause
mean,
it's important to put it in context.
yeah. So he's 200 points. Let's start there. That's
Yeah,
kind of a
he's
big
expensive.
deal.
He's-
That's kind of a big deal for clones.
He's 30 points more expensive than Kenobi off the bat,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mhm.
Yeah, he's got 3 Force slots, which I think is the most Guard Jedi has available, as well as a command slot, which is pretty important for Republic because of aggressive tactics and all the sweet. They like their command slots for sure. Probably the most out of any faction. 5 health, 4 courage, kind of like his base stat, like his base unit card is basically the same as Palpatine. Like outside of his attacks and keywords, right?
Very importantly, outside of his attacks. Yes.
Yeah. Totally, 100%, right? So instead of pull the strings, he's got guidance, which is a free non-attack action, and I believe pull the strings is what, a move action or an attack action specifically.
Yeah, move or attack.
Yep.
Right. And so this is important for a variety of reasons. Guidance allows you to do objective card actions. It allows you to take a standby token, which is like a pseudo attack action. It also kind of combos with some of his command cards that we'll talk about. It's definitely, I think, a lot more flexible than pull the strings, if probably on average a little bit worse.
Right, because it still explicitly does not allow you to do
The
what
best
is
action.
probably the most important action, which is attacking.
Yeah, totally. Unlike Palpatine, he does have a mastery, which is kind of cool. His mastery is super wordy. I'm just gonna read it.
It was funny. I was just thinking that because I was like reading through it, getting ready to talk about it. I'm like, oh, God, this goes forever. Like,
I'm gonna read it before we talk about it.
Okay,
and we've definitely gone over Yoda before, but clearly now that we have the whole
quick
package.
refresher. Yeah.
So he's got a Taru mastery. The text here is you can perform up to 2 attack actions, period. So like just off the bat, you can just swing Yoda's lightsaber twice. It's kind of like Barrage, but
It is essentially Barrage.
Yeah.
Which it's important to note because people were asking like, well, how does this work with his 1-pip?
Right.
He still has to actually spend the actions to do those 2 attacks. All this does is remove the restriction that you can only do 1 attack per turn.
Right.
This
This
is
doesn't
not
give
Son of
you
Skywalker.
a free attack.
Yeah.
Right. It's just, you know, instead of move attack, you can attack, and that's your turn. Right.
Right.
So in addition to that, after you perform an attack, you gain 1 dodge token, which is pretty good. After you defend, you gain 1 aim token.
All right. Let me ask you the dumb question.
Yep.
So if I attack twice, I get 2 dodge tokens.
Correct.
Okay.
And every time you defend, you gain an aim token. It's notable that like both sides of this are only rewarding in specific time intervals, right? Like clearly after you perform an attack, you only get dodge tokens after you go, right? And the aim tokens that you use from defending can only be used if, for the most part, if you go after you defend.
So isn't that funny? Because that is it's a little bit counter to what we talked about with any lightsaber users, right? Where you want them to always go last. So basically, I mean, you may be able to spend the aim, but ideally you don't have Yoda out in the middle of nowhere taking a bunch of hits that would get you those aims, right?
Yeah, the other thing is his weapon profile doesn't really need the aim tokens for the most part. So it's really you're rewarded for going early with Yoda with the Ataru Mastery to get the dodge tokens. Well, we can talk about that more when we get into the command cards, because I think that informs that a little bit more. And then lastly, while defending against a ranged attack, if you spend a dodge token, the attacker suffers 1 wound for each surge result roll. So it just tacks on deflect at the end. Pretty good overall.
I do think just specifically with respect to the dodge tokens, it's worth noting that even if you go last with him, like you often want to with Saber users, your list is probably capped at like 9 activations.
Totally.
Because of how
100%.
expensive he is. So if your opponent's running 10, 11, 12, 13, even if you're going last with him, those dodge tokens are going to come in handy.
For sure. So he's got Immune Pierce, also has Master of the Force 2. There's only 3 units in the game, I think, that have it. Him, Dooku, and Palp.
Yep.
Which is a big deal. Master of the Force 2 is really powerful, and I think we see that specifically on Dooku a lot, where he gets to refresh 2 upgrades. You don't see it a ton on Palp because he's not really a traditional lightsaber user. But I think as we're about to find out, Yoda more is. So I think this is going to be a much bigger deal. He's got 2 attack profiles. His lightsaber is melee 4 red dice, which clearly surges to crit, impact 2, pierce 2. And he's got a ranged attack, range 1 to 2, 4 black, surge to crit, blast, and suppressive. So it's kind of similar to Operative Vader's attack profile, as far as like the options that are available there.
Yeah, not as many dice in the melee one, but yeah.
Yeah, and way more dice than the ranged one.
Yep.
Right? For sure.
Although it doesn't have scatter, which is the best thing about Operative Vader's ranged attack.
That is very true. That is very true. So, although suppressive is nothing to sneeze at.
Oh no, clearly. Yeah.
But I don't think we came today to talk about the unit card Yoda. I think we want to talk about Yoda's command cards.
Okay, let's do it.
You want to hit us with the first one, Jay?
You want to start from the back and work your way up, 3 to 1 or 1 to 3? What do you guys want to do?
I think we should go 3 to 1 because I think 1 is the funnest.
Okay.
Yes.
Number 3, luminous beings are we. Each eligible unit gets an order. Yoda gains 2 aim, 2 dodge, and 2 surge tokens. He cannot attack. Friendly units at range 1 to 3 can spend Yoda's green tokens. If size matters not is in your discard pile, return it to your hand, which is his 1 pin.
It is.
Can we talk about how cool the recycling effect is?
Yeah, so good.
We definitely can. So every one of Yoda's command cards has a recycling effect on it. So basically, you're getting 6 command cards for the price of 3, essentially. You do have to kind of play them in specific orders to have them when you need them, and we'll kind of, I think, get to that in a bit once we kind of talk through how they play on the table. But yeah, the recycling is big. It's kind of like getting like Operative Luke and Commander Luke's packs kind of combined a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. It's not quite as flexible because, like you said, you do have to play them in a specific order to get them back.
Yeah.
And your 1 pip requires you to play a card that doesn't allow you to attack to get it back. So
it sort of doesn't allow you to attack, but yes.
Well, yes, there are ways. So let's talk about that. So
yeah.
So the text here? It's basically a pile of tokens: 2 aim, 2 dodge, and 2 search tokens. And then he basically gets range 1 to 3 exemplar.
Yeah, he gets mega exemplar, basically. And it's worth noting a couple things here that are fundamentally different from exemplar. The range increase, it also does not require line of sight.
Yep.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, so he can take the standby action.
And then share it to something at range 3.
Yeah. Pretty good. And if he's behind a line of sight blocker or something, it's basically not strippable.
Yes. Yeah. It's also worth noting that he can like take the standby action and then force push something into the you can like take a standby on Yoda, guidance something else to standby, force push something that triggers whatever, and you can just like fire off 2 standbys immediately, assuming Yoda's at range 1 of something already. But right. Like, so when you say that he can't attack once he's in it, he's still very, very lethal as long as he's got units that can basically support him once he gets there.
Yep. Very much so. And that pile of tokens is no joke either.
That's so good. That's on multiple turns too. Nasty.
Potentially.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of Empire players compare this to entire Legion.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, like compare it in that like
that's because it says
Empire
each eligible
Legion
unit
plus, right?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, like all entire Legion does is let you order all your units.
Right.
Yeah.
This does that, and then a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, and
I get it.
I get it too. I definitely think Yoda's a very different character, and we'll see if that ends up being as big a deal as people think. But
yeah, I also think his 1 and 2 pips are both worse than Palpatine's 1 and 2 pips.
All
I
right.
agree. His 1 pip is worse. I don't know about the 2. I think the 2 is really good. Why don't we talk about the 2?
Let's talk about the 2.
All right, Mike,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, sure. So his 2 is there is no try, as he famously said on Dagobah. It issues an order to Yoda and 1 trooper unit. And when Yoda issues an order to a trooper unit, it gains outmaneuver, so he can spend dodge tokens on crits. Relentless, which means he can attack after any move action, ranged or melee, and he gains 1 dodge token. If luminous beings or is in your discard pile, return it to your hand. So
Nice.
he doesn't have charge or relentless on his base unit card. So this gives him relentless, so he can use force wave or his lightsaber off this effect. He additionally gives any unit he gives an order to relentless. I think outmaneuver is fine, and the dodge token it gets is fine, but that's really not what this card is for. It's for giving that sweet, sick full arc unit relentless, so it can move, aim, shoot.
So essentially, it's tactical strike on half as many units with no free aim tokens.
Unless it's on arc troopers, in which case there are free aim tokens.
Well,
But
right. Yes.
There's some crazy things you can do with this card.
Yeah.
You can again take a standby token on not a standby token. You can have the unit that you give in order to move relentless attack, and then have Yoda guidance it to move attack again. Because it doesn't say anything about they have to have a face up border token for it or whatever. It's just that's the effects that they get this turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in practice, this is probably going to be just 1 other unit besides Yoda, because you probably want you could give him Batmad if you wanted to give it to another unit besides Yoda, but you probably want the order on Yoda most of the time anyway. So, yeah, it's good.
I mean, I want to be clear, it's excellent.
Yeah,
I think clearly I've illustrated the full arc example as best case, but putting this on a phase 1 unit is still really good.
Yeah.
Being able to move, shoot is super powerful.
And I mean, full arcs clearly work really well with a lot of his abilities. I have not seen a good. It's hard to get to 9 activations with full arcs.
I know. I've tried. I do think the reason I've got an 8 activation Yoda full arc list that I think might actually be halfway decent, but the full arcs have Overwatch, stims, because so the thing with Yoda is that the standby tokens and guidance actually really value a unit that can fire range 3 with standby tokens, right? So I don't know if it'll be good, but you definitely can play There Is No Try on turn 1 and just delete a unit or 2 with full arcs that have relentless.
Yeah.
That seems completely reasonable to me.
Yeah, potentially.
What do you think, Jay? You're kind of quiet.
You have been quiet, Jay.
My brain is exploding with all this information.
Okay.
I'm wishing he was in a different faction. It's all.
Yep. Understood.
The Palpatine comparisons are many, but he's a very different character. And I also think this is a good card. I do think Give In to Your Anger is better, personally. I'm biased because I like Palpatine.
I'm a very aggressive player, so I look at this card and I'm like, yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Give In to Your Anger is a much more unique and potentially powerful effect. So, in my opinion. All right. Size matters not. You guys ready? You sitting
ready.
down?
Yeah.
I'm very ready.
Yoda gains jump 1, charge, disengage, and treats his maximum speed as 3. During his activation, Yoda can perform any of his arrow, so basically card action or card free action actions, up to 2 times. If there is no tries in your discard pile, return it to your hand. So basically, speed 3, jump, charge, disengage. Already that's pretty great on a unit that has a lightsaber and can attack twice. And then he can also perform any card action up to twice, which is essentially guidance and force powers.
Yes. I also think maybe, I don't know how big a deal this is, but I'm pretty sure that includes all objective card actions. Right? Like I think objective card actions have the little arrow.
Have the little arrows.
Yeah. So I'm pretty
So
sure you
you
can like
could-
sabotage twice if you wanted to.
Or you could like move, claim.
Well, no,
Or
because
claim,
that's four
move,
actions.
claim?
You could claim twice.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. No,
You still have to
but-
actually spend the action to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
gotcha.
The double objective card action is like not super splashy or but there's definitely a game where like Yoda's gonna steal it by sabotaging Evaporator twice with this card.
Or make someone else do it with guidance.
Yes, that's also true. So yeah, I mean, I think the action text I think is probably the most important in that he can use all his force powers, immediately recover, and then use them all again.
Use Jedi Mind Trick twice and then zap it with his ranged attack for 6 suppression.
Yeah, you can literally drop 6 suppression on basically any unit at range 2 with this card. In addition to force pushing something twice and potentially like doing something else. I'm trying to think of, I guess you could like force reflexes twice, but that's probably overkill. Yeah, I don't know. Seems really good. I think size matter or not is like super flexible. I think it's going to be difficult to figure out exactly what you should be doing with this card most of the time. Like, or rather, finding the best play with this card.
Yeah.
Even like when you want to play it.
Yeah, there's some interesting, just like there's so many decisions that you have access to between like guidance, force powers. Do I recover again to get the force powers back? Do I just want to like melee something twice? Right. There's a lot going on here. Also, speed 3 jump. I mean, the only other unit that has access to that in this game is Mandalorians, I think, right? So,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, this card's crazy good.
Yeah, I was thinking, looking at all this, I think why part of the reason why I was a little bit quiet is I'm just like, okay, so I can recycle this card, but at the same time, how good is the third one is okay because you're going to give all those orders out, right? Or maybe on the second time, depending on where the rest of your army is. And then, but the second and the first one are very specific to a couple units, right? Either Yoda himself or Yoda and one other trooper unit. And so it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how often you would recycle all of them. I don't know that you would.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, if you were playing a Yoda list, I feel like you're going to play a Yoda card every turn. I mean,
it's just a matter of what order you play them in.
Yeah, just as far as like, you probably play new luminous beings or we on turn 1 or something. I guess you could maybe also like open with like assault to like keep your options open type deal.
Well, because I could definitely see luminous beings maybe being like a turn 1 and then maybe a turn 5 or 6 as well, depending on how things are shaking out. Because maybe you want access to everyone, and have your options open in later turns. But at the same time, I don't know. It's interesting. It's just interesting.
I definitely think that the 2-pip is also like a really good candidate for like an opening command card. Basically anything that shoots range 3 has range 5 with that command card. It's got a very similar take that clankers-esque effect.
Yeah.
But only for one unit other than Yoda, unless you take battle med, right? So like it's got a similar thing going on there. probably less good than take that clankers overall.
So do you take battle meditation with him?
No,
I don't think so.
he's got 3 force slots, which is great, but I mean, I think you take push, Jedi mind trick, and barrier.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the default. We haven't seen the upgrade cards that come in his pack yet. We don't know if he has like new force powers or whatever, but I think as it stands with the suite of force powers that we know that what's available, I think that's definitely what I'm packing in my Yoda list is like this is what I'm starting with type thing.
Yep, agree. And I think part of that reason for that, not just is force slot competition, but as we mentioned, I think you just want to give the order to Yoda anyway. Like, I don't think you want a situation where Yoda doesn't have an order.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just like general force user etiquette, right? Like always have an order on your force user.
Yeah.
I think is just the way to go.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting. I'll be curious to see how people use these because there's clearly going to be like a sequence and a rhythm to them.
They're going to be complex. I don't think it's going to be straightforward.
No.
Well, what I do think is that what people are going to find is once they play one of them, the order in which they play the other two is kind of set in stone a little bit. And from there, you're only going to get one card back every turn. It's going to kind of be your opponent's going to know what you're going to have to play and what order you're going to have to play it in if they know what Yoda's command hand looks like, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, and I think, I mean, if you're playing Yoda, like you were just saying, Mike, like I think we're going to see, you won't see the gun. I don't think you'll see the gun line the way, you can't see the gun line the way it is today. You're going to see a different version of a gun line that maybe won't be as dangerous on paper, but will be because of these cards if the pilot is doing what they need to do it correct.
Yeah, and I actually think, I mean, frankly, if we're looking at this from like competitive lens, I don't think he's 30 points more than Kenobi. Kenobi already really doesn't see a ton of competitive play. He probably would if Republic was different, but I'm not sure how much better he is than Kenobi. I think he's definitely more powerful and does more powerful things, but I don't know. The issue with Kenobi is that it's really hard to put a good list around him, and making that 30 points more expensive is like a big ticket. So people look at Yoda and like, oh, he's amazing, he's busted, even in like, if you put Yoda in Rebels or Empire or Separatists, it's a very different discussion because you can load what's around him, right? And in Republica, you just can't do that with Jedi, especially with something so expensive.
And I would say Empire's similar now, right? Like you can't really, you kind of little, but you can't really load a ton around like Palpatine's, 200 points or whatever. You can't really load a ton around him either, right? You start making a lot of hard choices as you move down the line of what you're putting in that list.
You do, but even like with Palpatine, you can still sort of check some of the basic boxes. You can get to 10 activations, and you can do that with core units that have heavy weapons, a melee linebacker unit in IRG, and also one or if not like 2 medics. One thing that's important to contrast Yoda with Palpatine, because I don't want to do this too much because they're apples to oranges and they're very different units.
Totally agree.
But one thing that is super important for Palpatine that Yoda does not have access to is affordable medics.
Yeah, I mean, like even if the medics were affordable, they're half as good as far as like the amount of wounds they can restore, right? So I mean, in that same vein, he doesn't have to like unload his health pool to deal a ton of damage, right? So there is, I mean, his wounds I think are overall less precious than Palps, and they're not a resource, right? If Palf takes a wound, his like effectiveness level goes down, but Yoda's doesn't really go down until he just dies.
Right.
But yeah, I agree overall.
But he's also not capable of that like a one-shot nuke turn like
He's not.
Palpatine is.
100% not. Like Yoda, he can do some crazy stuff. I think overall Yoda's like, he's much more, Yoda's going to be interacting with the board, I think, way more than Palpatine would. Palpatine is definitely like, I'm biding my time, I'm waiting to do this thing, I'm handing out some extra attack actions while I'm waiting to do that. I think Yoda's going to be way more combo-y and much more like, he's like flipping, doing backflips in your opponent's army, cutting off a couple heads here and there type deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite as like in your face one single nuke turn.
Yeah.
It's more over time doing smaller things like, throwing 4 dice. But also, force pushing and mind tricking and stuff like that.
But I do think the biggest difference I think between the two in my mind is that it's basically like I talked about full arcs, but you cannot have a 10 activation. You can't even have a 9 activation Yoda list really that has a power unit in it. There's no, you can't really fit an affordable power unit and have a good, well-rounded list. You can definitely take a second power unit in a Yoda list, but you're sacrificing like heavy weapons and stuff at that point.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
that was my son making a guest appearance.
There you
go.
He's getting big. Holy crap.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's 3. Yeah, I'm excited. Yoda makes me want to play clones. It makes me want to play Gar.
Yep.
And it's possible that you could actually make a Yoda list kind of on the cheap, because I think you pretty much have to field him with a lot of phase 1s. And,
yeah,
there's a lot of unwanted phase 1s out there right now.
I mean, I don't mind the whole like putting stock back in phase 1s kind of idea, right? Like, I very much believe that like core units should be like on the field like way more than other core units, and if this is how we get there, fine.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I mean, technically, if you wanted, you could put Yoda, 4 phase 1s with Z6, 3 ARC troopers with the sniper, and a lat on the table. 9 activations. I know people are going to want to put him in a lat, just like people want to put Vader in a lat. You can do it and do that scene from the movies, right? Where Yoda's flying on a transport into battle. Totally do that.
We've been scoffing a little bit at the Vader lat thing. Now that I've seen it, and this is a huge tangent, now that I've seen it on the table, I actually think it has way more play than I thought. And I also think that it actually is much better than most people give it credit for. Just in that I think that people haven't figured out what the like correct choices are to make in it yet. And I think once that happens, it's going to become really lethal. We could talk about that later when we talk about other things, but I've been thinking about it a lot, and you can manipulate the rules in such a way where things get really bad for your opponent really fast.
All right.
Yeah, I actually want to talk about that Vader lat list when we get to the Huzzah conversation.
Yeah, I actually posted an article on the 5th Trooper site about it Monday. So whenever you're hearing this, you can read it. I think I will have a little bit more to say about it tonight. But yeah.
Hey man, good.
Yeah.
See everybody, the Scoundrels' minds can be changed. Just give them a week or 2.
I still think the lat is not a good unit, just to be clear. It's just like as a combo piece, specifically doing this thing, I think it's worth talking about.
All right.
What kind of list are we talking about for Yoda?
I mean, I sort of think it's really hard not to like just stick him in a list that just has a bunch of units with the clone trooper keyword. I think all the lists that I've put together for him are 9 activations. They're, I think, 4 phase ones, 1 clone commander, 3 arc strike teams, and Yoda. Not super exciting, but I think overall, he wants you to be taking trooper units because of all of his cards and stuff. I mean, I guess it's worth noting that his 3-pip allows you to share standbys to vehicles, which is not nothing.
I mean, some kind of Padme Yoda saber list would be hilarious, but that sounds incredibly expensive.
We saw that floating around. You can actually get it to 9 activations. You don't get like heavy weapons on the core units, but you know, if you've got a saber that fires 3 times around, maybe you don't need core units that are good. I don't know.
Although for that to work, your opponent, you know, you can't give the saber Overwatch, so your opponent has to walk into range too if you're the saber.
Or you force push them.
Well, or that, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say the range 2 thing, but when I was playing Timbo, man, when that saber gets shoved up in your face, range 2 is just everywhere. It's like, if it was a trooper unit, yeah, I agree. But the saber's like just, it projects so much bulk that it's range 2 is really very close to range 3 on the saber tank as far as total distance it's getting out of that sort of shenanigans.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's got a big base, so you can just kind of shove it right down the middle of the table.
Yeah, and it's just like, I'm projecting a field of fire that you have to walk into. Yeah, totally.
Well, any other Yoda thoughts?
It's going to be interesting to see how people use him. That's for sure.
Very much looking forward to it. Hopefully this means Mace is next.
I'm still waiting for a core unit of, or maybe it's got to be a special forces unit of just like Padawans. Just like that's what I'm waiting for. That's when I'll move over to clones, is when there's a unit of Padawans.
If Anakin attacks you, he gains Pierce 4.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Well, Yoda's not the only spoiler we got.
Oh yeah.
We actually got 2 more unit cards.
All right.
We do. We got so much to talk about today. It's crazy.
All right, which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's do the Wookie Warriors
Right.
ranged guys. I'm saying ranged guys because the subtitles are different and confusing. Then there's actually one for Rebels and one for Republic.
I don't think the subtitles are confusing at all. From the stance that like it makes sense based on the time period that those units exist
yes,
in.
It does.
Well, if you're gonna get all technical about time periods, fine.
Look, man.
I didn't know that's what we were doing on this episode, but all right.
My point simply is the subtitles are different for the Republic as they are for the Rebels.
Well, because one we're defending and the other ones were after the war was over.
So you got
resisting.
Kashyyyk Defenders is the Republic one, and then Kashyyyk Resistance is the Rebel one. And these are a different unit than the melee version.
Which, not to increase confusion, are both called Wookie Warriors.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the subtitle on the Rebel melee version?
I don't think that has one. I just think it says Wookie Warriors.
You may be right about that. Although it's entirely possible that they
Add one.
they changed that in whatever pack we're getting.
Yeah, it just says Wookie Warriors on the card.
Yeah, so we'll see if they get like a new subtitle.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
anyway,
and the
these
reason
guys,
we're calling them range is because they have one more range increment on their gun.
well, and
and-
another dice.
They also have sharpshooter.
And not another dice. Sorry. It's actually so their dice are actually worse. But they do have sharpshooter. So
And
And
they're
range
range 3, right?
Yeah.
Range 3 is a big deal.
so they do important differences from Wookie Warriors. They do not have charge or duelist.
Okay.
They do have scale and they do have indomitable.
Okay.
their melee profile is slightly worse. It's black white instead of black
I think
black.
it's black. Yeah.
And their ranged profile is range 3, but it is white white instead of black white. So their attacks are both worse, but they have a longer range, and then they have sharpshooter 1.
Yeah, I think the big deal here is that you can now have a 6 white. What's the Pierce guns dice profile?
Bowcaster is red white.
Okay, so 7 white, 1 red, sharpshooter 1, pierce 1 attack from range 3 is real strong.
Do you think the one less training slot matters?
Oh yeah, that's difference too.
Yes, I mean maybe it's a different unit. Like normal Wookiees want offensive push and tenacity, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you don't intend on using these guys in melee anyway, maybe you don't need tenacity. You just take offensive push. Maybe put some scopes on them or something. I
Yeah.
don't know.
They're still fine in melee.
Yeah, they have the same melee as arcs basically,
Yeah,
which is to say that it's good.
and they still have 12 wounds.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
The ranged profile feels very similar to me to like a full BX commando unit.
It does.
Who is 8 white, 2 red, but it's lethal instead of pierce. So it's a lot more dice. It is also sharpshooter 1, but instead of pierce, it's lethal. So they also
Go ahead.
have less wounds, the BX commandos.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the wounds are really the selling point here, and they're like these guys, if you want to like hunker down and hold an objective with some guys, like these guys seem really good at doing that. I don't know how much better they are. Like, is sharpshooter 1 and the range 1 to 3 worth losing access to like some melee flexibility? Charge is a big deal.
Yep. And the fact that you're probably not taking tenacity with them.
Yeah.
And they're only 3 points more? Is it worth the 3? I don't know.
Also worth noting, you can give these Wookie Warriors Relentless with Yoda's There Is No Try.
Yes, accurate.
Have fun.
Yeah, this seems fine to me. Like, it's kind of like do I want these guys or do I want the melee guys?
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems fine.
Yeah, totally.
I could definitely see using these in like a rebel list where you're doing triple Wookiees anywhere as like a 1 or 2 of. You put your melee dudes in a bus, and then you have these guys kind of like following up behind, climbing on top of buildings, throwing some dice.
I think diverse options are good, and this to me, rather than I think when a lot of new units get spoiled or whatever, we get into this thing of is it better than this or is it worse than that, and to me these are like very much a side grade from an existing thing that is good.
Yeah, which seems fine.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question: is the shield? Oh yeah, the shield is Wookie Warriors only, so it looks like technically you could put a shield Wookie in there if you wanted to.
Yeah, give him armor 1 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly, he would. You're not doing the bowcaster pierce thing if you do that, but you've got to. You just keep that thing on the armor 1 side since these guys don't need to move as much. Then you have a super durable unit just throwing 8 white dice at range 3,
which Empire players can relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not all. But wait, there's more. We also got a Wookie Chieftain.
Yeah.
As a commander.
There does not appear to be there's only one command or unit card for this that I've seen, and it's for Republic.
Yep.
One of y'all want to walk us through this unit card?
Sure, I'll do it. So Wookie Chieftain, 100 points, 7 health, 2 courage, surges to hit and defense. So it has a bowcaster, range 1 to 3, 4 black, impact 1, pierce 1. It has an ancestral weapon for melee, which is basically an ATST's main gun attack pool in melee. which is 2 red, 2 black, 2 white, or the old double rainbow. And let's see, Agile 1, Charge, Duelist, Indomitable, and Scale. And then it's got what's it got? A command slot, 2 training, and a gear slot for 100 points.
Seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it seems great. I think you slap offensive push on this guy, and you got a mini lightsaber without a force push, basically, and seems pretty good. I also believe that in the product description on the AMG site, this guy's got some command cards as well. In the picture, there's a bunch of command cards, and the one that you can see the title for is like
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one for the list builders.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. So part of this feels a little weird to me.
All right.
In
Which
that
part?
we haven't seen a Wookiee core unit, so Wookiee commander is feels a little weird.
I kind of agree with you. I think there's a big miss here. Not putting these out as Wookiee core units. That would have been much cooler.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd much rather be able to have 6 of these units.
I'm not sure your opponent would be cool with that, Chad.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would be like the units, the Wookiees that we do have. I'm not sure that would be fair with, right?
Yeah.
I definitely think like you could craft a core unit to go along with it or something. But it feels like we've got like the two buns of a sandwich, but like the meat is missing a little bit, and that like we have the commander, we have the special forces, but we don't have the core. So yeah, I don't know. I think the Wookie Chieftain is great. I think for 100 points, this profile is pretty good, particularly if you get some sweet command cards. I'm not sure. I don't think anybody was able to read the text or anything of the 1 pip. So
no, just the title, the amazing title.
Yeah. Which is great. But I think it's similar to like the Yoda conversation. I'm not sure how to evaluate this guy, I think, until we know what the command cards do.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to put him in context.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, because if he just is like a commander for like an army full of clones, like for the price, I think I'd rather take Rex. Right? But if he's got some sweet synergies with stuff, that could be different. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It is worth noting that he surges to defense.
It is.
Does that make him the only Wookiee unit that surges on defense?
Yeah, Chewbacca's crying right now.
Yeah, right.
This is what happens to all the old units. Just like they just come up with better stuff. Just go, yeah.
Chewie does have more health. And
He does.
These new Wookiee like special forces units do not surge on defense. So it's not like they just made all of them better.
and I think the Wookie Chieftain is definitely like, it looks like he's like wearing armor and stuff in the picture, as opposed to all the other Wookiees that we see that are basically just naked. So
yeah, do they not have like enough armor to go around? Because clearly it's not a like.
I gotta imagine it's just gotta be really hot if you put armor on, like it's gotta already be super hot as it is. I mean, space is a cold place, but like Kashyyyk is definitely not a cold place. It's like a jungle.
Yeah, it seems like an odd place for very hairy animals to be, but I mean, I guess gorillas live in the jungle, so I don't know. What do I know about anything?
That's maybe a fair assessment. The other thing is that like
that's the fair assessment. What does Jay know about anything? I don't know. I was just talking here.
But I think lore-wise, they're also like very like nature-esque. So the fact that they don't use like a ton of like, I imagine they don't like mine a ton. I think even their shields are made out of wood.
Yeah, except they have bowcasters, which
Look, man,
shoot lasers and are presumably
you want to go
made of
talk to
some
George
kind of metal.
Lucas? That's like, I don't make the rules here.
Do you know what the most exciting part about this is? And not so much the units themselves, but I definitely like this new dual unit or dual faction units. I really like that whole new thing that they're doing. I think that's huge. I really like it. And whether or not I agree with whether those units are good or not, I like the fact that they're doing it, and they started that with R2 and C3PO, and that one made the most sense. And, I wish, I hope they keep doing it. I think there's some missed opportunities with like maybe Obi-Wan or Yoda, but whatever.
Can you imagine Yoda in a rebel list?
Dude, it would be
I mean,
awesome.
in fairness, Yoda and Kenobi never actually fight for the rebellion.
They don't. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenobi does some brief shenanigans on the Death Star, but that's like sort of just explicitly to save Luke and company.
Right.
Basically.
Like,
And
it's
he doesn't
definitely
actually
not
fight
for the
anybody.
rebellion, I think, at that point. Yeah.
Dude, also, is it odd that for a game that is built on core units, that even the two original factions only have 3 core units? It's like it's becoming more of a hero special forces game, but like based on, right, you still need the core units, and most of us are still taking 4 to 5 core units, and we only, like, in best case scenarios, have 3 to choose from, and maybe 2 of those are actually good.
So I'd like to make a counterpoint.
Alright.
I hear what you're saying. I get it. I think
Do
like
you?
Empire probably has space for like mud troopers or something. But I'd like to just, as like a, not that Warhammer is like the best designed game, but Space Marines have had like 1 core unit for like a super long time. Generically, like Necrons have like Necron Warriors. That's like it, right? Those factions have been around for like what, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, core units represent, like, if you want to buy into a faction,
Yeah.
get a set of core units. These are like evergreen, or they're supposed to be.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, so here's my thought. Like, I almost think that should be like a faction identity. And maybe that's how you fix Empire, is you just start pumping out core units for it, where you just have mud troopers. And then what were those other ones from Solo that were on the train that had the mag boots or whatever? Like, you just start pumping out core troopers for the Empire, right? Because that's what they did. They were just recruiting people. So we just line up the core troopers for the Empire. And that's kind of their faction identity, is core. Right? Rebels got heroes. Clones are unbeatable. Separatist alliance is, you just get
Jay,
order
what-
tokens, and
Did clones win Atlantic City, Jay?
No. I don't know, Kyle. Didn't they?
Do you guys want to talk about a tournament that clones did win?
Sure, Mike. Let's talk about a tournament that clones did win.
Sweet. Let's do it.
All right, so you went to a tournament this weekend.
I did. We had our first local tournament at Huzzah Hobbies in over a year,
Wow.
which was fun. I think we had like 22 people show up.
Wow.
22, yeah.
So a couple things that I thought were super interesting. First,
All right.
Empire was the most played faction.
Interesting. All right.
Yep. There was only 1 droid list, 22.
That is outrageous.
Yeah, I think so too.
It would have been 2, but my daughter was sick. So.
Yeah, I know. But even then, like 2 is still like for 23, a 23 person tournament, I would expect 4 or 5 droid lists probably, So I brought Rexstar because I'm a tryhard and kind of a meanie.
Yeah.
In fairness, I thought Kyle was going.
I did too.
Yeah. So and I thought, whatever. So round 1, I played against Rexstar. It was actually a very funny match from how it started. So it was Alex DiNardo. He comes to our local a lot. He was like, yeah, I didn't know what list to play. He plays Republic. So I just took your Invader League list. And this is it. And I was like, all right. Well, I guess the meta continues, right? And so it was a Rexstar mirror. I had tweaked my Rexstar list since ACO. I added like a rocket launcher, and I shaved a phase 2 off it because I only own 2 phase 2s. But in essence, it's still the same list. Good game, great game. It was very close. Round 2 was against the Vader Lat.
Sorry, did you win said game?
Yeah, I won the tournament.
Okay.
So yes.
Way to bury the lead. All
right. Yeah. We can talk about that later down the line. Yep. Sorry, I just assumed it was a given.
Wow. All right.
Yikes.
Well, that's it for the Notorious Scoundrels.
All right.
I'm Jay. Mike's fired, and Kyle will be back next week.
So I played against Vader Lat round 2, and it was super interesting because I know we had talked about it coming off of ACO. Kyle, you mentioned that the Imperialists that did well at that tournament or had winning records, I think were all Vader dropship type lists.
Yep.
So he took this. He took like a 20-point bid.
In fact, I think the guy that you played was one of them.
He was at ACO. Yeah. You know, the objective deck was interesting. It was everything. It was full of things I hated, which was, but like the deployments were interesting for an Imperialist. I think I had to choose between Hemmed In, Danger Close, and Rollout. So I chose Rollout because it was probably the most distance I could put between us. And he forced Payload. And I think it was clear conditions. So he deploys the Lat in the Rollout like bubble zone that you can deploy vehicles in. And he also put Vader in the Lat. And he played Implacable turn 1, which I did not see coming. That was not a thing that I thought was on the menu.
Really? You didn't see the 1 pip coming turn 1?
I understood that he wanted to get Vader like into melee with my stuff on turn 1. Like I got that. I just didn't expect to be getting attacked on turn 1 by Vader.
Yeah, sure.
And so I immediately had to do like some recalculating. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to pour some shots in the Lat, and then I'm going to take a bunch of standbys, which is effectively what happened. Was I through my I fire supported an arc with my rocket, and I dumped like 6 damage into Lat to force him to go. It broke. He got like halfway there, and Vader had to like walk the rest of the way in that turn.
Oh, no.
And so what immediately struck me about the list was that it really has one mode, and that is go, go, go. Like because you have got a Lat Vader, you don't have anything else. And like the rest of the list cannot support itself. Just can't. Which is fine. And we talked about it after the game about like some like a repair droid would go a long way into making like sure that like that situation doesn't happen again, right? Because you can at least just rip the damage token off so your Lat's not suppressed, right? Yep. But the more I thought about it,
go on,
the more I was like, there is a scenario here, I think, that is just amazingly better. And that is if you play Master of Evil on turn 1. And in this situation, the thing that you do is you tap your uplink on your Lat turn 1. You immediately dive with it. Like that's the first thing you do. Is you dive with the Lat, and because of the deployment zones you picked, the Lat is basically on top of your opponent's deployment zone. pretty much, because you've taken the TIE pilot. It's done 2 speed 3 moves, and it's literally sitting there. And then you just basically, you've taken Master of Evil. So if you basically want to put the lat so that it's range 2 of everything in their list, if at all possible, you can pop Master of Evil from within the lat and strip all of their standby tokens. And so they can't really take standby tokens to do anything about it. So either Vader is getting out scot-free at the end of the turn, or they blow the lat out of the air, and then Vader gets to basically move relentless while Master of Eviling their army with a dodge token. Seems really good.
Yeah, because when you blow up a closed transport, the unit inside basically just gets out. Like they take a wound.
They take
right?
a wound, but the whole like, yeah,
they don't have to like do the disembark action and stuff on their turn. They just get to do their turn.
right.
Yeah.
And so in this situation, like if your opponent's prepping for Vader to get out of the lat, like Master of Evil completely shuts that down. And if they want to turn around and run away from this front of their deployment zone, okay, great. You know, like that's going to kill 2 turns basically, right?
Yeah, but now Vader's within range of their entire army in the second turn. That seems complex.
So here's the thing, right? If you embed if Vader is there, you just play Fear and Dead Men, and it's like kind of over.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, I have 8 dodge tokens now, right?
Yeah, because what's Vader's number one problem? Arguably his only problem.
Getting there.
Delivery, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And he's arguably better than any other saber user once he's actually like stuck in the middle of your opponent's army.
Okay.
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying, and this seems good on paper.
Yes, I haven't tried it yet, just to be clear.
I hear what you're saying.
So here's the thing. This is what I'll say. Is that right. I was playing a Rexstar, which out of every gun line in the game probably has the most tools to deal with the situation that I was handed. Okay. And as someone who deals with like weird situations and Jedi all the time, I kind of knew how to deal with the situation, given that it was the first time I dealt with it. But I guarantee you that someone with the exact same list 9 times out of 10 would have died to the implacable play. I think. Like I had 4 standbys that popped when Vader got out of the lat. Like most clone players would not have moved offensive pushed standby with all of their units, right? And yeah, I think this is gonna get people, and I think it's gonna get people more than just like a gotcha list. I think this is gonna, if you're consistently blue player, I think you can rock a tournament with this. Maybe not maybe not over 6 rounds because you'll lose but I think if you're blue, I think you got this is like a similar situation to like what the 13 activation stat list is doing, except I think this combo is more like you can fire it with more precision, and it's a little bit more fire and forget, and that like you only have to worry about one thing on the table as opposed to like everything going on.
What deployments would you run?
So danger close, hemmed in, rollout, probably battle lines probably isn't terrible. Is there another? He was also running disarray, which you know, I think that was fine too.
Yeah, because those disarray zones are pretty close to each other, and if you're dropping the lat and Vader as like your 9th and 10th drops, you're gonna have a good idea of where your opponent's army is by the time you do that.
Yeah, I also think like in the article that I posted, like you can also like kind of strip all the core units with heavy weapons out of this list and like throw Callus in there and take Operative Vader instead, and like throw Seize the Initiative on there so that you have even more play once he's embedded. You know, you can just like play Face Me and make sure that if they like try and call me captain it's just they can't. You know,
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of play there too. I don't know.
I do like Callus Vader.
Yeah, it was like it definitely misfired in our game, but it was.
But it woke you up and gave you an
Yeah,
idea.
it was like I was like, oh, I think this is actually good, you know. So props to Robert for figuring that out.
I am not backing off of my previous statements.
I see.
I refuse.
I mean, I think that this list may be like as good as like an Opluke Wookiee list.
Get the hell out of here.
I mean, it's a similar concept.
It is very similar concept.
It's a you know, we've called them a W key list, right? Like,
So for
the
those
mode.
of you playing at home, I'll just let you know I put together a 10 activation list based on what Mike was just talking about for 761 points, with Callus with his rifle, Operative Vader with force push and seize the initiative, 2 stormtroopers with astromech droids, 2 naked stormtroopers, 3 strike teams, and a LAT with Imperial TIE pilot and HQ uplink.
The good news is you don't need the astromechs if you're doing the Master of Evil plan, because you want them to destroy the LAT.
Yeah.
Like the whole plan is please blow this up.
So so you can remove the astromechs and you're at 743.
Well, you also definitely want choke on Vader so that you can just like take 4 heavies out and like one go.
Sure.
With
Okay, so add that on and let's see what happens.
Anyways,
748.
That was a really long-winded way of saying round 2 was an eye-opening experience for me. I think that list is much better than I gave it credit for. Round 3, I played against John Brader, who was playing double ATST. And I don't think John's played against a ton of clones and was awakened to the power of the Rex Star.
I think that's going to happen a lot.
That's about when I showed up to the tournament, and he had a little bit of like a PTSD look on his face.
Yeah, I mean Rex
Still shock.
Rex last firsted and killed 2 units of stormtroopers from full to dead with no help. So that was the thing that happened.
Yeah, you took Jetpack Rex for a change, right?
I did take Jetpack Rex. That was one of the changes I made. I think so. In my defense, I think Jetpack Rex is much better on real boards. There's a lot more like blocky jetpack worthy terrain on real boards as opposed to on TTS. Yeah, it was pretty good overall.
I think Rex is a lot better on real boards than.
I've never
TTS.
shot so much with Captain Rex in my life. I mostly played him on TTS, and it's, but yeah, on real boards, like gunslinging is like a real thing. And when John was like, "Man, I can't believe you just picked up 10 stormtroopers off the table," all I could think was like, Rex is like basically firing like Commander Vader's lightsaber at range 2 surge to crit just without the pierce.
Without the pierce, which is important.
Which is important, but it's like it's also,
Yeah, it's three red dice and then 3 more red dice.
Yeah, it's very good. So yeah, that was the tournament. It was really good. I got to meet a lot of new people that this was maybe their first time in the area playing, which was awesome. So it was nice meeting everybody there, and I think we're gonna have another one in like August. So
awesome. Maybe I'll be able to go to that one.
You better be able to go to that one.
Maybe I'll come down for that one.
There you go.
Bum, bum, bum.
There were some people from like the Carolinas at this thing.
There was 4 of them. They came up together. They were wearing, I think, pew 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 shirts. There was 4 pews.
I don't think they were all from the Carolinas. I don't know. Maybe I misinterpreted that.
All right.
They were definitely. They all came together. I do think someone may have come from Georgia. I'm trying to remember correctly.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I mean, there's not a lot of tournaments going on, right? And so I'm sure when people hear about them, they're like, "Yep, let's go."
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was impressed. I was very impressed with the turnout. 22 people for a store tournament. It was great.
It was great. It was fantastic. specifically, like there was a lot of locals that like couldn't make it that day too.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it could have easily been like 30 people.
yeah, for sure.
Speaking of 30 people, or more than 30 people, I am going to Lone Star Open probably. So
Oh,
Nice.
yeah, we'll see how that
when
goes.
is that again?
Late July,
Late July.
July 24th. I think.
July 24th.
Yeah.
Well, good for you, Kyle.
Right.
Look at
Yeah.
you going to
Well,
tournaments.
hey, we haven't had any in 2 years, so
So you're gonna use up all that credit right now, huh?
yep, I'm just gonna
You're
burn
not-
it,
you're
like
not
burn the
even gonna
candle at
s-
both ends.
Yeah, you're not even gonna spread that out. You're
Nope.
just gonna burn it all right now.
Yep.
Yeah, he texted me like last week. He was like, "Hey, you want to go to Texas?" And I was like, "I'm not sure I can like make that happen this month."
Yes, which was unfortunate,
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I can and did, so I will be there.
There you go.
I don't know what I'm playing yet. We'll see.
I know what you're playing. You might not know what you're playing, but I know what you're playing.
All right. Vader Lat.
Nope.
I have a Lat now.
I know you do.
I have two.
All right. You guys got any final thoughts?
Yoda lat? Question mark.
I don't think Yoda's going to be out.
I'm just
Oh,
saying.
not for the
Oh,
tournament.
you just mean in general.
yeah.
Maybe
It seems kind of unnecessary for him.
it might be.
I agree.
but-
Listen, lots of things are necessary. It doesn't mean that you can't play them. Just don't expect to win. Is all I'm saying.
I mean, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Just go have fun.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want to do.
All right. Well, we are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Jay.
I was trying to come up with a Yoda quote, but I don't know.
Nope.
Cheese
Gone.
bags stay
I-
fresh.
You realize that there's like 3 Yoda quotes in the command card titles,
Yes,
right?
I understand.
Okay.
None of them seemed appropriate as a sign off, unfortunately. So,
Okay.
yeah. Cheese bags stay fresh.